All right. Good morning, everyone, or maybe good evening, wherever you are in the world, maybe watching this program, Discipleship Masterminds. This program is intended to encourage churches, individuals, mentors, maybe parachurch organizations to really develop people or disciple them for the glory of God and for world missions. And so here with me today is a mentor of mine from my younger years, even from my younger years in the ministry. And he is just perfect for this interview on how the Lord has molded him through the years and how the Lord is now using him to disciple other leaders all over the world. So, in the past episodes, we've looked into growing churches through discipleship. We've looked into the discipleship journey of a musician, and today we are going to look at discipleship and missions. So, allow me to introduce to you our resource person, Reverend Terry King. He is married to Linda since 1972 with two adult sons, a pastor, seminar speaker, and Bible college teacher, 5 years in Zimbabwe, Africa, seminar speaker, teacher, and academic dean, living 4 years in the Philippines, member of several community-related leadership and service organizations in home area, team coordinator for Alliance International Ministries coordinating team, undergraduate degree in education, Master of Arts in Cross-Cultural Communication from Wheaton College Graduate School, Master of Arts, HRD Leadership Studies from Azusa Pacific University, and DMin from Vision International University. Good day, sir.
Well, it's
Reverend
certainly good to
Terry.
see you this morning, DL.
Yes. Yeah. Sir, could you please tell us? I know the whole world is on lockdown or on quarantine. What have you been busy doing these days? How are you and your family?
Well, yeah, we've been locked down for 2 months now, locked in the house arrest, I'm calling it, but still staying very engaged. There's so much to do with the tools of technology we have. Just like we're doing right now, it's quite amazing. In fact, yesterday was it this morning? Sometime in the last day or so, I was in South Africa teaching in a Bible study there. So staying very busy, engaged in mentoring, discipleship, training, all the things we do.
Wow, wow, wow. Still busy. Still busy. Well, same thing here, sir. Myself, I'm also busy with a lot of things to do for the glory of God. And so this one is very, very important for me. This has been in my heart for several weeks now to do this kind of interviews because I have been chosen as the discipleship head of Christ of the Philippines. We have around 100 churches all over the country and several churches abroad. And so, as head of discipleship department, I would like to encourage our churches in the area of discipleship. And what a privilege to interview people who have really gone into this route of discipleship and who are able to encourage others in that. So, would you please tell us about how your spiritual foundation was laid down? Did you have mentors when you were young? Were you involved in discipleship program growing up? How about your Bible school? So please dwell on
Yeah,
those questions first.
I mean, I was raised in church, but not really around churches like ours, more of a traditional kind of a setting. And so I remember my youth leader. I remember him talking about the things of the Lord and salvation. But really, probably the one man who made the most impact upon my life, he still remains my spiritual father, is one of my Bible college instructors.
Oh,
And I remember the very first day on campus. I got there early, a day or so early, And I had met him once before. He actually led a traveling choir. He somehow remembered me and he greeted me. Didn't know my name, but as a new student. And I remember walking across I'll never forget this, 50 years ago, walking across the campus. He looked at me and said, "What did the Lord show you in your Bible study this morning?"
Ooh.
And I thought, well, I don't know. I mean, Bible study this morning? And he reminded me, no one ever told me before, Miguel, I should be in my Bible reading the word every single morning. I should be in prayer not just on Sundays, not just when I'm preparing a sermon, but that I'll never forget that impact of just that one little word, even that very day, reminding me of the value of spending time with God every morning.
Wow, that's pretty wonderful. Well, I also remember a Bible teacher of mine who, at the very early days in the Bible school, he, somehow took me in as his disciple. His name is Terry King.
Miguel, I think that really highlights to me discipleship is relationship. Discipleship is relationship. It's not a program. It's not a course. I mean, we do that, especially in the Western world. We try to make it into a program. But biblically, discipleship's about relationships. It's about that personal time. And again, I would say that the biggest impact upon my life in terms of my whole outlook on ministry, the basic philosophies, foundations of my ministry were taught to me by Nat Sagenario when I was his driver, driving him across the countryside for ministry all over the country. Not in the classes. I mean, he was a great teacher, wonderful teacher, Bible teacher. But it was spending time watching him, watching what he did, how he did things. Those examples that, again, discipleship is relationship.
I like that idea because these days, or maybe at least in my mind or in the mind of many, discipleship is a program. I like how you put it. You said it's actually a relationship. I remember that verse in the gospel where it says, Jesus called them and said, I want you to be with me.
Exactly.
And so, I like how you termed it. I like how you described it. Could you please explain more on that? Because I want people to see that. I want people to look in discipleship in that way.
So I like to think of discipleship on 3 levels.
Right.
And all 3 are very important. First of all, who am I looking to? Who is my spiritual mentor, my spiritual father? And that can be a variety of things. I mean, actually, I consider John Wesley to be one of my mentors.
Ooh.
He's been dead for hundreds of years, but
yes.
I was raised in a culture where he was a hero, and I've studied him, I've watched him, I've listened to him, even though I've never met him. So in that sense, he's like a mentor. But then I mentioned earlier Nat Sagenario, other men. Probably Nat's the most important one. But there are men I look up to, and I follow them. Paul said, "Follow me as I follow the Lord." He reminded the Corinthians, you have many teachers, only one Father.
Wow.
And then number 2, people we walk with, peers, which again, for Westerners in particular is a bit of a challenge. I think maybe for the Filipinos, maybe it's easier to understand the value of having, was kaibigan, is that the word we use?
Yes.
True friends, not just casual friends, but true friends. Paul talks about his yoke fellows, his fellow workers, Philemon, verses, 23 and 24, Philippians 4, verse 3. It's a very strong word, sunergio. It's someone I'm bonded with. A yoke fellow is someone you're walking beside, like 2 oxen plowing in the rice field together. They're not one's not over the other, they're walking together. And there are things I learn by walking together with brothers that I can't learn from my fathers. It's that iron sharpens iron kind of thing.
Oh,
so that's another level of discipleship. Then the final level of discipleship maybe is the one that's least recognized, but I also have men that look to me, and they're discipling me even when I'm discipling them. I'm watching them, I'm learning from them, I'm receiving from them. They say things to me that my peers don't say to me. My fathers say things to me that my disciples don't say to me. So all 3 of those levels, who are we looking to, who are we walking with, and who are looking to us, I believe that all three of those levels speak into our lives and disciple us.
Yes, yes. Wow. Wonderful how you put it. I like it because you see, this is the kind of things, this is the kind of ideas and teachings that our churches need these days, because most of the time it's more like formality, a program. So this one is really, really good. Father, peer, or friend. Yeah. And the next one is, I forgot the next
Disciple.
one.
Who's your disciple? Who's
Yeah.
looking
Oh,
to
yeah.
you?
Yeah. The
Who
one.
are you looking to? Who are you walking with? Who's looking to you?
There you go. There you go. Wow.
I think part of the challenge is, Miguel, we get caught up in numbers so easily these days. It's all about numbers. And again, I said it. I started with, this is the point I would want everyone to remember. Discipleship is relationship. Some years ago, I was asked to speak at a conference in Mexico, and a group of pastors. A very really exciting situation. The leader of the group was a medical doctor, and he had evangelized his patients and planted churches and raised up pastors. Just a true apostle of the Lord. And he invited me to come down for his annual meeting to minister to his pastors. And I remember meeting him and talking to him. And the very first night, I arrived from the airplane very tired. He asked me this question: well, how many people are you discipling? And I said, well, let me think, for probably 6 or 7 right now. And I could see he was very disappointed. Like, here's this American who's come to speak to my pastors. I thought he was a big guy. And I smiled after I waited for a couple of months. I said, yeah, Jesus only had 12.
Yeah.
So how can I have hundreds of people I'm discipling if Jesus could only disciple 12?
Wow.
And he got it. It's not about numbers. It's about the relationship, the quality of the relationship. And I think that's part of our challenge for pastors. Pastors, don't try to disciple hundreds. Paul in Timothy 2:2. Timothy 2:2. Teach others who are able to teach others also. Faithful men who are able to teach others also. So the idea of discipleship is multiplying relationships upon relationships.
Wow. This is getting all the more exciting. Okay. So maybe on the next question, I would like us to focus on what made you decide to focus on missions and on discipling of leaders, because I know since you went to missions like in Africa, in Zimbabwe, and then in the Philippines, and then in Ecuador, and wherever you go now, that's your main focus, to train leaders. Why? What made you decide on that? How did the Lord guide you to do that?
Yeah, I guess it's as much calling as anything else. Calling's what you do naturally. It's what comes out of you. And I think even as a young man, as a young pastor, I began pastoring when I was 20 years old, right out of Bible college. And even then, I was looking to pour into others, encourage, lift up others. I mean, that's what Paul says our job description is in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 11. We're to equip others for the work of the ministry.
Yes.
So as pastors, it's not our job to do all the ministry. We do minister, of course. But it's our job to equip others. And I think that was part of my heart from the very earlier years. And missions came as a natural thing. It was just, I was raised around, as a new believer, especially when I was filled with the Holy Spirit in 1960, 67, 68. I was raised around people who were missions oriented. Missions was a normal thing. And so I guess it was normal for me to follow that path because I'd seen the example of others, and the Lord speaking to my heart, laying that upon my heart.
So what do you think of those individuals who think that it's not their calling to disciple others, or maybe to train others? It's not their calling. What would you tell them?
Well, Jesus was very clear. He didn't say go plant churches. He said go make disciples.
Yeah.
And again, that's not a condemnation. I love churches. I love the church. That's for sure. But again, keep it simple. Discipleship is relationship. If you're a mother, you're a discipler. If you're a father, you're a discipler.
Wow.
If you're a neighbor, you're a discipler. If you're a brother or a sister, there's always opportunities in our lives to disciple others.
Wow.
Make it a relationship. Get to know people. Understand who they are. Try to discern what their callings are. Speak into their life. Speak life to them. Help them equip them for the ministry that God's called them to do. Everyone's a discipler, even if we don't know it sometimes.
Wow, this is a game changer for many of us here. I mean, because like for example, I wouldn't think if I'm a brother, if I have a brother or a sister, I wouldn't think that I'm his or her discipler. But with what you're saying, even though I'm not formally a discipler, but because of our relationship, I'm a I'm a
Exactly.
discipler. Wow.
Who are you looking to? Who are you walking with? And who's looking to you?
Wow.
In every area, whether at work, at school, in your family, in every area of life, there are people who are looking to you, and they're your disciples.
I remember one leader who spoke at the conference and said, I'm actually mentoring so many people. And then we were looking at her, and our eyes were all, wide. And she said, because in everything I do, people look to me and follow me for or observe me and maybe follow me for whatever I do. So I'm actually in that way a mentor to them.
That's exactly correct. That's exactly correct.
Whew. Wow.
That's fun. That's exciting. Yeah.
Yes. This is really good. Okay. Having ministered to many countries, what do you see are the challenges of discipleship in the church? And what should be its focus? I think you have already said that, focus on discipleship, which you define as relationship, but what are the others? Any strategies you have in mind?
I think there are many challenges, and it really depends on the culture, on the country, where you are. But I would say that in so many ways, because of media, especially Western culture, European American culture has become the predominant force in the world today. And I think it's very unfortunate in many ways, because our value systems are often not biblical. They're not relational. They're not based. They don't encourage deep personal relationships. We tend to think that bigger is better. We count all the numbers of this and numbers of that. And again, there's nothing sinful about counting. The book of Acts counts thousands of people that came to the Lord, 3,000, 5,000.
Yes.
But again, quality takes place one-on-one. And I'd say that's the big challenge: the pressure of time, the pressure of keeping up with everyone else around us, comparing ourselves with others. I think those pressures are probably the biggest problem for discipleship. Discipleship is relationship. Relationships take time.
This is going to be really encouraging to many pastors who couldn't keep up with the pressure for numbers, especially, well, you have been in the rural areas of the Philippines. So can you imagine a pastor in the rural area thinking, oh, I need numbers, and that's a real pressure for all of us here in the Philippines. Just as you said, we want to follow the pattern of the Western world, the mega churches, and so thank you for that idea. Okay, let's look into time, because you lived in the you grew up maybe as a believer in the 70s or maybe 60s. What were the difference in the discipleship needs of the church between those times, like 60s to 80s, and then comparing it to the recent years? You've mentioned already about media and so on. What other differences do you see?
That's a big one, media for sure, because today people can go on YouTube or Facebook and any social media, and they can hear the best preachers in the world. Why do they need to listen to you? Why do they need you to disciple them if they can go to the best preachers in the world? Now, media certainly is a problem. But I think beyond that, the inner needs of people have drastically changed. I mean, our culture is so shifted, our value systems, the breakdown of the marriage, the breakdown of family, the breakdown of social values. That's left huge holes, character issues that this whole concept of living for me and not for others,
Yeah.
loyalty. I think there's so many character issues that were a natural part of our culture 25, 30, 40, 50 years ago that we need to teach our disciples, not take for granted that they know them already. So I think there's a big gap in terms of those kinds of things that we would consider maybe just normal things, but they're not normal any longer.
Yeah. Well, putting back what you said about discipleship in this issue, like you said, it's a relationship. Discipleship is a relationship, and then putting it in this idea of the gap, that we have now in the recent years. This will help if we have the mindset of discipleship being relationship. Then we will not feel the pressure of people saying, why would I need to talk to you when I can listen to the best preachers in the world, when what I actually need is relationship.
Yes. I think people remember the little things. They remember the times we're there for them when they're going through difficult times, when they're struggling, the words of affirmation, even the words of rebuke. I think I've had the privilege of preaching to thousands of people. I mean, at one point, 60,000 people. It's exciting. Oh. It's exciting to preach for 60,000 people, but you can only touch a couple at a time. You preach to them, but you can't touch them. And and I think that's the difference. I think sometimes that we underestimate the power we have, the influence we have when we're in small groups with individuals, one-on-one, speaking into their lives, challenging them, encouraging them. Maybe even rebuking them, but rebuking them because we love them, not because we're trying to control them or manipulate them.
Yes, truly powerful. Very liberating idea about discipleship. This is what I love in these interviews, because when you interview, different people, there are different perspectives, which add up to each other. So you can pick up so many good things from different people that you can apply to your very own ministry. So this is the difference that you've got. The thing that you can really add value to the idea of discipleship here in the Philippines as we do that. So thank you so much for those ideas. I think I still have some more questions, or maybe you have something in your mind that you would like to say more on discipleship.
This whole thought of finding 2 Timothy 2:2. It makes it easy to remember. 2:2.
2:2. Yeah.
Paul said, "Find faithful men who are able to teach others also." And again, it's so simple, but I think that's the challenge. Who is there in your life right now that you can reproduce who you are and what you are in them, and they reproduce it in others. Again, not a program. People try to make that into a program. I'm not against programs. They're wonderful tools, wonderful materials. I think reading is such a powerful tool. I have several books that I encourage all my disciples to read because they're such great tools. But it comes right back again to relationships.
I remember you encouraging me to read books. In fact, you were the very first one who gave me books to read during my Bible college days. And yes, I remember those. But I also remember the materials that you developed, the courses that you developed. Yes, you were an advocate of discipleship being a relationship, but you're also good, and you're also doing courses, and you make it also into somehow a formal program. So it's really a good balance. Would you like to say something about those courses that you've developed? In fact, I'm planning to use one of your materials, because you've given me the authority anyway, to use it to disciple a pastoral candidate these days. So I'm going to use that. But could you tell us more about it?
It really, again, it goes back to history. When I moved to Zimbabwe, it was a very strategic time for the country. It was a brand new country, a new government, and many people many of the white people were leaving the country, but the blacks were coming into leadership, and the hunger for training was phenomenal. And I actually taught in 2 different colleges. I was teaching 5 days a week. And from the very beginning, I understood that my role was not just to teach, but to raise up new teachers, to train new teachers. And this is my point, I became aware very quickly the biggest hindrance that future teachers faced was materials. Having a syllabus, something to work from. So I made it a point, the whole 5-year period I was there, to make sure all the notes I developed for myself were in printable form to pass it on to the next teacher. I started with nothing, but the next teacher would always start with something. And in fact, I've been working on that ever since the early 80s. Those materials have been worked over and over again. I guess I finished about 20 courses now, and they're actually all on my website and would be available for free download for anyone who would like to go there. Leadership development resources. And then there's also a course on leadership I call personal leadership. My theory is this: you can't lead others if you don't know where you're going yourself.
Yeah,
and that's in video form. It's all on the website. There's no charge for any of those kind of things, and I hope the guys will take advantage of that. So yeah, tools are important. Use those tools and build them into the relationship you have. Don't start from scratch, but use what's available for you.
Yes, because this is what I have in mind. I truly agree with you, fully agree with that. The discipleship is relationship. But even in our relationships in life, there has to be intentionality. And so therefore, we've got to have structure. We've got to have, something to work on. So yours is really perfect. You have this mindset that discipleship is relationship, and yet you've developed throughout the years many, many materials for you and for people you develop, people you disciple to use, to pass on to others. So it's a great example for all of us. In fact, nowadays, I'm also beginning to look into writing books, maybe. And because of this lockdown, I had a little bit of an opportunity to do that.
Excellent.
So thank you so much for your modeling of that idea for all of us.
We're always more effective when we have good tools.
Yes, that's very, very true. So for my last question, what have you been doing recently, and what are your plans in relation to raising more leaders in many countries? Because I know you go to France, you go to London. We just don't have the opportunity to meet there. But yeah, I know you go to London and many other countries. Brazil, you've been to New Zealand recently. So what do you have in mind? Why go to those countries? Or,
Yeah, I just returned from New Zealand just before the lockdown began. I was very happy I was at home when the lockdown began. But I would say, Miguel, the thing I'm most excited about right now is the Philippines. I've already got tickets purchased for August, so I hope that the lockdown will be finished by then. If not, we're going to reorganize. I'm working with a very exciting team. Sunday Tanyagra and Miguel Pavoloni. I think you may know him. Our vision is to use business seminars to reach out, to expand the kingdom of God beyond the church walls, and reach future leaders who are maybe not even Christians yet, but using leadership training as a way of speaking into people's lives. I mean, many of the things we talk about in leadership come from the Bible, and they're very transportable, if you will. They're principles that work in every area of our lives, including business. So there's so many things I'm excited about, but that's probably one of them that I'm particularly excited about now, because it's a new venture moving forward. And I hope it'll be in August. If not, we're going to reschedule those dates. And again, I really hope the pastors will take advantage of those seminars while we're there.
Yes. So thank you so much for everything. There's a lot. May I request for a second part of this, because this is really exciting. Well, definitely we're going to look into your website and encourage our people to look into it and use the materials that you have there. So thank you very much for making it free, or offering it free for all of us. I know that it would be a great blessing. So, well, I totally enjoyed this time of interview. Any parting words that you have for us?
Maraming salamat po.
You still remember those words, huh?
That's right. That's right. God bless you. It's such a privilege to be with you, Miguel.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.